Hey, it's your boy 950 Kev for the 950 Lounge Show with LeBron James in the radio game, the most electrifying man in media today. And I'm 1/5 of the best team in radio. So I'm joined by my brother Rodeo, the funny guy, just the classic man, the cynic, aka Mr. Roper, backstage Ed, and the lovely, super talented Steph Pearl. It's 950 Lounge every day, all day on multiple networks. So tell us a listen, let us know what you think. Catch us at www.950lounge.com or my Instagram at 950kev. We're back on the Ride 950 Lounge in the morning, still joined by the best team in radio. And again, thank you so much for whatever you're doing, taking a few minutes with us. Our next guest is a young lady I really admire on many levels. I built a friendship with not just her, but with her husband. She has an amazing story of strength, courage, defiance of life, and the ability to keep moving when we wouldn't wish these type of things on our own worst enemy. And before I introduce her, you might know her face. We do have cameras here, but for at least for our radio audience, from a standpoint of having this conversation, I was really honored when this person said, hey, you know what, your show is a professional show, and I want to have this conversation with you. And she's here today. Not her first time on the show, but certainly her first time at the Gold House. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 950 Lounge, the lovely Natalia Perez. What's going on, hon? How are you?
Thank you. Yeah. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Kev. Thank you, everybody, for having me at the show. It's an honor to be here in your new studio. I love it. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And the first time you came here, actually, I felt bad because I told you to come to something and I didn't show up at the thing. So
it happens.
It happens.
You know,
but again, happy holidays to you and your beautiful kids that you have here today.
Thank you.
Again, I mean, we first met. You was working with an organization, and I had, guys had asked for some assistance. We were helping with the marketing, doing different things, and from that standpoint, we built a rapport, just me and you. And you have the makeup line coming already made up. Maybe makeup rodeo touches eyebrows.
Slow.
But
we talked about that last time.
Exactly.
Yeah, everything you remember, but you remember the eyebrow. That's messed up.
But now you understand why, though,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Now you see it in person. It's like
he's a model's dream.
He has a beautiful face. It's
Thank
all
you.
good,
But see what I'm saying?
The skin is glowing.
Now watch. He's
wonderful.
going to try to come back with something.
No,
negative.
I didn't say nothing.
Because you're thinking.
I'm still trying to get I'm still getting my voice. But in any event, I mean, before we get into anything, you used to work for News 12. That's when I it's funny because before we became cool, I said that name. I remember Natalia Perez, News 12, and you used to do news reporting. Talk about that experience first before we get into your metamorphosis of life.
Wow, well, that was a while ago. Like, when I think back to News 12, the Bronx days, that was like early, like 2001, 2002.
Right.
And at that time, it was the aftermath of 9/11.
Right.
So if you could only imagine, at that time, everybody was glued to the news. Everybody was watching day to day what was going on. We were basically informing the country and the world about everything that was happening in New York City after we had just been attacked, and the World Trade Center and everything. So it was an exciting time to be in the news. And I actually wanted to be a news reporter ever since I was in high school. And I even came to career day dressed up in a suit with like my microphone, and I was going around like taking pictures with people at school. And it just so happens that when I got to Arizona State University, where I got my bachelor's degree from, my GPA wasn't high enough to get into the broadcasting school.
Cronkite.
Wait, you gotta have a high GPA just to get in the broadcasting
Yes.
Well, they have the
Yes.
Cronkite School of Journalism is
yes.
one of the top. That and Syracuse
Yes.
Newhouse is one of the top journalism
So you
schools
mean
in
to
the
tell me I
country.
just can't go to a broadcasting studio and show my face and
Not
say hello?
there,
I want to
no.
be a news anchor.
Not
No.
at Arizona
She
State.
could be a weather girl.
Because it sure seems about the ones I see on
Well, that's
different
not
channels, boy.
We're
I
not
tell
talking
you.
about audio research. We're talking about a school that takes the
Does Oprah have a Walter Cronkite award?
Oprah got dough.
No,
Oprah
but
don't
she
even-
was a news reporter. She was a weather girl. All you gotta do is read a teleprompter.
Rodeo, you're not listening. You're
I'm
not
just
listening.
asking a question.
Can you listen and get the answer?
News 12. You had to probably carry your own microphone, didn't you?
I did.
Those
But
heavy
she,
mics.
I had to
she
do
said
my own mic.
while she was, you're not listening. That's the problem. You don't listen. She said while at Arizona, no, you can't teach if you don't listen. At Arizona State, she did not make the GPA to get into the journalism school.
So she went to News 12.
So she went to News 12, right?
But wait, hold on. And I'm just asking because
Don't go
I'm not
there.
trying to
That's
diss
not
them.
right.
No,
My
no.
point is just saying that when you go into a college, let's say Arizona State University is the overall university.
Home of the Sun Devils.
But then they have a bunch of colleges within the
Right.
university that you go into to focus on your degree. So if you're getting a degree in education, you're going to go to the College of Education.
Right,
If you're getting a degree in, journalism, let's say, you're going to go to the
School of
Walker.
Journalism.
So in order to get in certain schools and colleges, they want your GPA to be like at a 3.4, 3.5, higher and stuff. And I was like on the cusp, I'll be honest, like on a 2.8 to 3.2 at certain increments of my college education. And I'm not going to lie, listen, I'm from the Bronx. Born and raised. I went all the way from the Bronx, New York to Arizona to a whole new culture, a whole new life. And I was just, in the first couple of years.
Which is kind of hard because Arizona State is one of the.
Maybe not studying as much as I should.
Arizona State is one of the biggest party schools in America.
It is one of the biggest party schools. And the reason why it's one of the biggest party schools is because, it's not because there's nothing to do. It's partially that. But think about in November or December going outside and it's 85 degrees and you're literally able to wear shorts and a tank top and flip-flops with your book bag to go to class. And then guess what? After you go to class, you could go to the pool and just swim and take a little break and have a barbecue.
I would think that was because a lot of going on because y'all in the desert and the only thing y'all could do is just sweat and sex.
It ain't the Sahara Desert.
it's
There's
close.
a lot going
It's
on.
close.
Tempe is right next to Phoenix. It's a metropolitan city.
Yeah, but you
it's
gotta.
gotten very
But Kev,
dope
you're
since
still
then.
It's still nothing really to do because you are somewhat
It's plenty to
isolated,
do.
if I'm not mistaken.
It's gotten better over the
gotten
years.
better over the
It's
years.
gotten much more,
Because I remember I went to a big party school. It was ranked number.
Which one did you go to?
It's called. I don't want to say.
We already know what you was doing.
Switch.
And it was in the north though. I mean, we was in Western New York, so there's really nothing to do there. So all we did was go to class
And drink.
and drink and party
yeah.
and drink and party.
Well,
and drink.
colleges, I think that's what's fun about college is
Or
that
bad.
you get to explore, find yourself. You get
You
to
see
see
your
what
daughter
you're
saying,
good
"Mommy,
about.
when I go to college,
I
can-"
know my
She's like, I
You're
would
not
be
gonna be
just
like
like
me.
you.
No.
Yes.
They're actually
Apparently
the opposite.
they didn't know this because the small ones like, yeah, tell me more. Tell me.
The older
more.
one's sitting there going, Mommy,
Right
mommy,
before Christmas, I
mommy,
can use it to
mommy."
get more gifts.
That's right.
No, but you know what's funny? As time progressed, I realized that my GPA wasn't going to be high enough to get into the Walter Cronk High School, so I switched my major. I got a Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies, which is basically combines two minors. It's Mass Communication and Business were my minors, and that's what I graduated with. And then I went on my own because, I'm Bronxite. We go after what we want, and I just went to Fox News studio and I said I want an internship here. I went day after day to the security guard and I said, hand my resume to the HR lady because I want to work here. And he handed my resume and she called me, and guess what? I was an intern. And I was an intern so great at that station that they invited me for another internship back. I was able to build my
Were they
resume
paying you?
tape. No, it
It's
was a free
intern
internship.
rodeo.
Nah,
It
there's
was
paid
free.
interns though. There's paid interns.
Well, she just mentioned.
There are paid,
paid.
but this one was not. I had to work my butt off. I had to prove myself. I asked every single time they went out on a story, can I go? Can I go? And the photographers were so cool. They let me do stand-ups and build my resume tape little by little. So that's how I was able to learn how to become a news reporter. I was on the scene. I was right there. And I was just interning, but I took advantage of that. There were other interns that sat at the news desk. They didn't do anything all day.
And that's when after that, then that's when you went to News 12?
I put my tape together, and my brother, he actually had a sister who I'm not going to mention her name because she's still a big news reporter today, but she was on News 12 The Bronx, and she is the person I gave my resume tape to her, and she sent it to the director.
Don't guess no
Since
names.
you ain't got to say the name, what year was this?
I said, yeah, we're not gonna ask.
It was back in the
'Cause
10.
knowing him, he'll hit it
back
around
in
the head.
No, I'm a Googler, yeah. I'm a reporter too.
And then you say it out loud.
I'm a reporter too.
But that's how I got my start. And it was just, it's a lot about who you know.
Yes.
And then it's also a little bit of your skills, right? So I went after it, and I got my first job. And when I say my first job on News 12 The Bronx, I'm talking about I graduated from college on a Saturday, and I had to start on Monday here in the Bronx at News 12 The Bronx.
And that's for you, getting on the airplane and flying cross country.
Yes, yes.
Because it's ironically, you need all these credentials, because some of these reporters are dumber than a doorknob. Some of them don't even know how to read. They be like, I can't see.
So then you got a shot at being a news
I
reporter.
mean, listen, I really was going to start handing in my resume to different broadcastings because I don't think I'm that ugly. I think I'm pretty nice on the face. And, you know,
you
on
can
the eye.
do the weather.
And I don't want to do the
Or
weather.
the traffic.
I don't
You
want to do
don't
traffic.
need that for traffic either now, right?
No, I want to go in the
Traffic
streets.
is a little different, and weather's a little
Don't take the
different.
cross Bronx. There it goes.
No, I want to go in the streets. I want to be that guy, like, talking to people,
You
interviewing
do that
people.
at bars.
You want to be Help Me Howard, huh?
Exactly.
Don't drink this liquor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what about my segments all the time.
It takes, you know what it is? It's just about practice. It's about your personality in front of the camera. As you know, you guys have to do that. It's about speaking at a certain pace and speaking with inflection in your voice, and also being able to record over video.
So you can't do the ghetto thing. Don't come this way. They acting crazy down here. They stealing cupcakes and waffles and everything.
I mean, you can do that if your news director is
and
okay
you'll
with
get
that.
fired when you get back. Matter of fact, they'll tell you, take the bus home. Don't even get back in the news truck because you're not
Let
wanting
me ask
to
you,
come
would
back.
you ever ask a black person on the street that you know really wasn't qualified to ask the question, sir, tell me what happened? Well, you know, I was just standing here waiting for the number 2 bus.
You know, it's funny
Well,
you
listen,
say that.
I don't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's funny you say that because it's a meme going around out of a reporter in Connecticut. And it was, attacks been happening. So a reporter said, what are you doing to protect yourself from attacks? And the guy was like, nah, he don't want to come around this block because, I got that thing too. And it's been going over social media for years. So, yeah, it can happen. I mean,
But I'm going to tell you what really happened. And this is what a lot of people don't realize, right? So when you're out on the street, right, and there's a breaking news going on, a person was found dead in a building, or a fire's going on, or they're looking for some suspect that just ran the streets and stole something from a store. The people that want to talk on camera are usually the people that are not qualified
Well,
to
that's
speak
why I
on
want to know.
camera.
Do you select who you want to
Exactly.
speak to, or
We select
you just grab whoever you
We
can?
select who we want to speak to, but unfortunately, the collegiate, educated, great sounding
They ain't got no time
they're
for
not
y'all.
gonna go
They ain't
and
got no
say,
time
"Oh, I
for
want to
y'all.
be on the news and film." They're the ones that are standing over here like, no.
Yeah, because they got a job. They got to
But
make
then
sure they're going
the
to.
people that you do need to
Get that
interview,
IG up.
it's like that one person that's like looking crazy.
Similar to the one who
when
wants
you're
to be
"Can
on
you
jury
go
duty."
on this
But it's
soundbite?"
entertaining to hear them talk.
Yeah.
I was minding my business. I was waiting for my girlfriend because she had to
I
bring me
know.
my money. Because, the child support, we're paying, but she going to bring my money. And I was standing there, and the dude across the street, that dude there, he ran in the middle of the block.
it's like you got a lot of practice in doing this.
I think he's done it a few times. Like,
I can do it.
Sir, what happened?
well,
This some form of me.
I was standing online, minding
Yeah.
my business like I always do. Hi, Mom. I love when they go, hi, Mom. What you talking
I
about?
just
News? Why your
now my
moms
new
want to
thing.
know?
My new thing is now is watching the people running the back of the news reporters. So like you see the interviewing
Oh,
somebody,
yeah, making fun.
and then the
Oh,
guys in
yeah.
the back go, yeah,
They're partying and
yeah.
I
I
heard
know.
somebody give their IG. Yo, Western USA 223, holla at me. And the lady looked at him and get out of here, get out of here.
So while
Yeah.
you're climbing, college grad, climbing through your professional career, you
Yes.
also you become a mom.
Yes.
know?
And that was a big, a big turning point for my life.
That was a
obviously.
career change.
It was a huge career change. I didn't realize at the time that God wanted me to be such a mother. And when I say such a mother, I mean abundantly, filled with like 5 children. I didn't know I was going to give
God
birth
bless.
to that many children in my life. 5
Lady
children.
that's in a shoe.
Yes. One guy was like, that's like a small tribe. And I
That's a
was
starting
like,
five right there.
Christmas must be
That's
very
starting
special
five.
in your home. Y'all got the lights on in the front of the house and everything?
Sort of. We're
Christmas
getting
tree
there.
and everything? How many trees you got?
Are
3?
you begging for a hot meal? You want to be 6?
You the
wanna
one
be-
inviting everybody to your home with plant-based food. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
now you're not invited. But
But yeah, so basically I I had my daughter, my first daughter.
Yes.
And that kind of was it was such a blessing to give birth to my first child. And then I actually moved back to Arizona. I was in New York on News 12 The Bronx, but then I moved back to Arizona. And then I decided while I was there, I wanted to have a second child because I don't want my child to be alone and growing up without a sibling.
How kind of you.
Yeah,
So
you're
then
not
I said-
selfish.
I said, no, let me have another one. So then I had my
another
beautiful...
one came. Then another
I know,
one.
well,
That was
my
unexpected.
beautiful daughter Sanaya, she was born like 2 years after Nyana, and so I gave birth again, and then after that, it was very hard as a mom with two young children, and the competitiveness of the business, I was kind of getting frustrated with it.
You wanted a ball team. Let's be honest with you.
No,
Tax season is very
it
rough for
wasn't
you.
that. It was more of just the news industry, and you have to understand back in those days, especially now too, being a black Latina, on the news, it's still tough in this day and age. It's not like, all these doors are just opening wide open for you.
Right.
No, you have to know someone who knows someone. And then even when you're in there, you have to really work hard to prove yourself, to be one of the main faces of that channel, to stay on that channel, to be on the news desk. A lot of people don't realize that as a news reporter, you're out in the field, you're hustling and you're doing all these interviews, but who's the face that's at the desk that you watch every single night that's sitting there as the anchor?
Right.
You understand? To get those jobs as anchor is not an easy thing. And so for me at that time, I think when I was younger, my confidence wasn't where it was at this age, or even in my 30s. And I had to build that. So back then I was like, I don't think this is for me. The news industry, it's a little too much. I'd rather be a mom. And I went back into retail.
Right. And that's when you came.
That's when I started. I was at Macy's.
Right.
I started out as a counter manager working in
Did
cosmetics.
people recognize you there saying, hey,
A
you're
little bit
familiar?
sometimes. Once in a blue, once in a blue it happens. But I started working back in cosmetics and retail. That's what I was comfortable with, and that's what I knew, and I had a little more flexibility with my kids. So I was a manager. I worked for MAC Cosmetics. I learned how to work for every big brand out there, and I started loving it because here I am. I get to do women's makeup, make them feel beautiful, and sell cosmetics, and I get paid pretty nicely. So I was like, this isn't a bad gig, and that's how I got into that world.
So you leave the media, you come back, makeup. I think that's when we met. You was well into that. And then you move back to New York.
Yes.
So you have your kids, you have family, you're doing your thing, and something happened.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk about that life-changing event. It's Non-Fee Lounge. Come on back. We're back on the ride, Non-Fee Lounge, still joined by Just, Rodeo, and our special guest, Natalia Perez. And we were talking about, again, crazy career, going from, snowing December to manufactured snow in December, going from New York to Arizona and coming back home, do different careers and finding your path, then becoming a mother. And a great mother, because I met you're always about your kids, and still are, obviously, but you're always about family, and that's very important to you. Mm-hmm. I want to go Halloween morning, 2015. Your daughters, it was Halloween, kids love to trick or treat. Mm-hmm. Your father retired, taking his grandkids out. Tell me about that morning.
Woo, that morning was on a Saturday, and I had normally for years been working on Saturdays as a makeup artist.
Right.
So I usually didn't have Halloween off to take my kids trick-or-treating because I was always working. But it just so happens that I was starting to own my own business, and I was able to work my own
flexibility.
Hours. So I said, you know what, kids, wake up. Let's go. Let's get dressed, put your costumes on. Let's go and, go trick-or-treating. And it was just like any other day. They got dressed. My daughter, Nyana, she didn't want to really get dressed. She was kind of in a mood for some reason. And I was just like, come on, let's do something. So I just painted her nose with some black, I I guess it was like a marker, some ink or something, and some mascara, the liner, and I put little whiskers on each side. And she just had a little hoodie and some jeans, and that was it. Right. And then my other two daughters, they had their little costumes on, and I just said, let's go. So right in the Morris Park area of the Bronx, it's very simple streets, just up and down the block. And I said, let's just hit up all the stores. And we just went store to store. They were getting candy, and it was great. So around 2:30 or so, I got home to my dad. We were living with my dad, and he took care of them all the time for me. And I'm like, Dad, look, they all have candy. And the three of them are like, look, Grandpa, we have all this candy. And he's like, wow, that looks great. So then I said, I have to go. I have to do a makeup gig. And I had to do a Halloween makeup that day at another location in Throgs Neck. So I leave. And then I said, Dad, they don't really need any more candy. You can stay home, relax, and they're good. But my dad, who he always was, the fun grandfather.
Right. He wanted to experience.
He loved taking them trick-or-treating. Yeah. That was fun for him, too. Yeah. So he was like, no, we'll probably go back out. I said, well, make sure you bundle up, make sure they're warm. And I said, so I'm thinking in my head, well, maybe they'll stay home because they got candy already, or maybe they'll, either way. But it's just like any other day. So I'm at the shop doing this lady's makeup. She was doing an avatar look, and I get a phone call, unfortunately, from an officer. And he just says, can I speak to the mother of Sanaya and Ayana Akil? I'm like, yes, hello, who is this? He's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, but there's been something that has happened. We need you to immediately head to Jacoby Hospital. And at that moment, I said, what's going on? He said, I cannot go into details. I said, who is it pertaining to? He said, it's your children and everything. I said, what's going on? And he was like, I cannot say details. Please just come right away. So I don't know for any of you that are parents out there, but it is like the worst, gut dropping feeling in the world what's going on. That you can't even find out over the phone what's happening, but you just have to rush to a hospital. That's all they're saying to you. You know what I mean? And that was literally what I went through. So once I got to the hospital, I got to the ER and the pediatrics, and as soon as I rushed through the doors, I asked for my children and everything, and they said, well, your two daughters are here. And they said, your other daughter is there, and she was surrounded by doctors and nurses. And as soon as I saw that, I started to almost start to fall back and faint. But something pushed me. I believe it was like a push from God, literally, which I know this sounds crazy to people, but I literally got pushed back up to stand up. And then to the left, I saw my daughter, who was Yasmina, with a neck brace, and I saw my other daughter sitting in a chair next to her. And they just said, ma'am, you have to stay over here. You can't go over there. I'm sorry. They're trying to work on her. And all I had to do was just stay over here. And they were the only tangible thing that I could hold. You understand? I couldn't physically hold my other daughter at the time. And when you're a parent, you try to hold on to whatever you can. You can't always hold everybody, so they always say save yourself before, like when you're drowning or something, like they're like save yourself first and then you can save others. You can't always save everyone. So I just had to hold on to what I could, which were my two other daughters. And thank God they were alive and okay, but they rushed my daughter Nayana up to the ER, and they said, we're going to have to try to do surgery. I'm sorry. And then just within about maybe 45 minutes later, she came down, she pulled me to a room, and she just said, I'm sorry, but she didn't make it. So I was like, okay, thank you for letting me know. And I went back in the room. I went back to my other daughters. And a lot of family just started coming in, and they were just like, are you okay? How are you doing? And I just, at that moment, you're just frozen. You're literally in a movie.
It's like a dream.
You're literally,
it's like you dreaming.
It's
you don't
like
know
you're literally just standing.
You're going to wake up. You're going to wake up.
Like,
really
what the hell is
what's going on?
It's like the whole world is spinning, and you're just in the middle, and you're just like, what's going on? Like, who are these people? So that's what it felt like. And then the weeks after, the days after, you know, here's a Saturday. I woke up this morning. I took my kids trick-or-treating. And the following Saturday, you're literally burying your dad and then your daughter. And I found out later that evening that my dad had died at the scene. That because the whole time in the ER I kept saying, "Where's my dad? Where's my dad? Where's my dad?" No one would answer me. And the reason why they didn't answer was because they didn't know how to tell me your dad also died. You understand? So that kind of just hit me like a ton of bricks, as most of you could only imagine. And I just had to say, wow. Like, is this really like this is not
life?
real?
Is this life right now?
Is this life?
Am I really living this? Can I wake up?
Exactly. Like, this is what you see in the movies. You know, this is what you hear about from other people. You don't realize that you could go through this yourself.
Now, I mean, all this is going on. Did you want to, now the next question is, did you want to know what happened for this to happen?
Before we...
I could answer that. I was of course wondering what had happened, but at the same time, my focus was my children and are they okay? And, you know, how are we going to just get through this? Because I've never been through having a daughter and a dad killed before. How do you set up funeral arrangements? How do you, like, I never had to go through any of this before. So I thank God I had friends in my life. I had people, my brother, my mother, plenty of aunts and family reach out, and they were all just like, what can I do?
Because I remember going to the wake. Yeah. And, you know, you was just so incredibly strong. You and your family was so incredibly strong. And I feel like I was more emotional than you were. Like, and you know, people like, well, you know, it's Natalia is in, you know, focused line, and, you know, she keeps her blindness. But it was like, you know, I didn't know what to say. It was like, you know, like,
no one knew what to say.
Know what to say.
No one knew what to say.
Words you could
no
say
one knew how to act.
But again, it's a way, like, it's not, you don't know what to say, but there's some type of emotion that you don't want to feel like you are more emotional than the person going through the adversity. Yeah.
But a lot of times they say sometimes we're more emotional as the friend and the family because we picture something that happens similar to us. Not in that case, but something similar. You go to funeral, you crying more than maybe the family in the first row because you start thinking about somebody in your family could be sick, or something that happened to you or somebody you know, and all that emotion.
Well, I know, obviously, now that, you know, we reconnected and we talk, and I replayed my emotions from that situation, and what I got from it was the most purest thing a kid can do is trick or treat. The most purest moment of a grandfather is take his grandkids out trick or treating to get candy. Simple things. We're not talking about, these are simple pleasures that you hold a lifetime to pay. Hold on. Let me finish. The most simplest pleasures that you can share with a loved one, and for that, you do all the right things. Like we are told as people, we do all the right things. You look both ways before you cross. You cross on the red, not on the green. You do all these things, and somebody jumps a sidewalk. Like, it's not supposed to be written that a 10-year-old girl dies that way. It's not supposed to be written that a grandfather who's probably did all the right things, raised family, raised a daughter that went to college, educated, to go that way. That was my thing. Like, when you start thinking, and you're right, you start thinking about your own mortality, but when you start putting things in place, that's not supposed to happen. Right. Because it wasn't like she was in a gang. Wasn't like it was some, midnight and, doing it. It was the daytime in a very respectable. I live in Morris Park. Yeah. So, what I'm saying, a great neighborhood. And that's, again. Yeah. So, you okay?
I'm good. Okay. I think that what a lot of times don't realize is that, we all go through things in life, whether good or bad. And what this experience And I call it an experience because in life we go through phases, right? Like, you know, you went through a childhood phase, like when you were born, and then you were up to like 10 years old, right? And you got through those years. And then you got through a college phase, right? You know, and you were like, man, this feels like I'll never graduate, I'll never finish. And you're going through your 20s trying to figure out your life. Then you get in your 30s, 40s, and then you're, you know, when you become, you know, 50s and on. But I just think that this was my phase and what God had intended for me. And I feel like the way that you handle things in your life, it really depends on how you handle it. That determines your future, or that determines the next few years or the next few steps of your life, how they go. If you decide to take a moment like this and turn it into a tragedy that makes you a depressed, miserable, lonely, sad person that just, you know, wears your pajamas all day, doesn't go out, you don't eat, you don't sleep, you know, you're just crying, you're on the couch, your kids are feeling it, your family. If you're going through that every day, is it going to benefit you in the future? Is it going to make you a better person, or the people around you a better person? I don't personally think so. I feel like it's going to weigh you down. It's going to do the opposite and maybe even make you sick, and you might even die yourself because of that. So to me, I just felt like every negative that you have in your life, you have to flip it into a positive, no matter how effed up it is, no matter how horrible it is. It's like you just have to find a way to dig deep.
You got to stand up
and stand for that, because if you don't, you're not part of the life. You're not part of living. You might as well be dead as well.
Right.
You might as well. You know what I'm saying?
But
we're talking to Natalia Perez, survivor of so many things. Go ahead, Josh.
But is there a moment that you just got to sit there and, you know, after everything is done, and just find a quiet space and just let it all go out?
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be a moment where you just got to sit there and look up and say, God, why? And then that probably just brings everything that, and like Kev said, you were holding up for the family and for everybody. But there comes a breaking point where you probably found that quiet place where nobody knew what was going on. You closed the doors, probably late at night. And what was that like? How was it just letting everything just vent out of you? What was that emotional experience like?
My daughters know that when I have little moments, it could be in the car, it could be just looking at old videos of my daughter, it could be looking at old pictures, it could be a memory of my daughter from a certain place we went to, and I just think about her, and I'll just start, tears will come down my eyes, and they'll be like,
"What's wrong,
are you okay,
Mom?"
Mom? And I'll be like, no, I was just thinking of Nyana. So that
reminiscing,
happens.
that's natural.
And it's something that is going to happen probably the rest of my life, but I'm able to express myself and let it out. And I think for people that just keep it buried and they don't let it out and they don't share it at all, that's what kills you. That's what causes the cancers and the diseases and the illnesses and everything that we're going through in our lives. Like when you just keep that buried for so long, you don't share ever. I don't think that that's helpful and healthy. And I always try to tell my children, like, cry if you have to, express yourself, let me know, let's hug, let's talk about Nyana, Grandpa, whatever you want, because if they keep everything bottled up, it will blow up at a certain point, and that goes back to therapy. And therapy is something that, you know, has been hard for me. I haven't really gone through the full phase of therapy, I'll be honest, and my children as well. They've gone to counselors in school. I've gone through, like, I call my clients my therapy therapists, because I've been able to share with them, and then they share with me their stories of tragedy as well, and it's kind of therapeutic. So that's been helpful, but it's tough, you know.
Through this process that you was during this time, and it's amazing. You and your husband shared this story with me. You had met the man who's now your husband through this time, and you know, having that conversation with both you guys, and you know what type of amazing man he is to be there through all the tears and the emotions and the kids, and still be there, says a lot about him. Talk about him a little bit.
Oh my gosh, Shanti, he should have been here today, but he had to take care of our two little ones. But it's funny how they say God put certain people in your life for a reason. It's so true. And at the time that he came into my life, I really honestly feel like he was my guardian angel, like that protector that just kind of shields you from anything bad at the time, because at that time, my dad and my children were just my home base. Like, that was it. I'm close to my mom, my brother, other people too, but we didn't live together. Like, I lived with my dad every day. He helped me cook, clean, take my kids to school, help them with homework.
That was your world.
Like, if I had to go to work or do anything, my dad was right there. He was just right there for everything in my life. And so I kind of got spoiled in a way from that. And then once he was gone, it was like, okay, now who's going to help me?
Hit.
Now who's going to do this? Now how do I get through the days and this and that? So when he came into my life, he's like, you know what? Come over. I have, my kids didn't even want to stay in the same apartment after my dad and my daughter passed, because it was too depressing,
Emotions,
too sad to be there, too many memories.
Familiarity.
It was very hard. So he's like, you know what? I have a place. I have a room. Come stay with me. We have open, I'm opening my home. You guys are more than welcome. And he just, like nothing, embraced us. He let us stay there. My kids, we made a nice room for them. And we just started our family there. And little by little, he's just been there for every step of the way. That what's crazy about it is that 2 weeks after my dad and daughter passed, his grandmother, who raised him like a mother, passed away too. So the first time that he ever met my family was in the emergency room when Nayana and my dad passed. And he met all my family members there. The first time I met his relatives was in the ER as well, when they were all there for his grandmother passing. And it was like crazy, like how ironic.
Deja vu.
Exactly. Like here he is saying to me on the phone, Natalia, my grandmother's in the hospital. They think she might pass away. Can you come? How would I say no to that after he just stood a whole week?
You could have, but
you know what I mean?
It would have just been so disrespectful.
Right, exactly. I was just like, you just helped me through the worst tragedy of my life, and you were there every step of the way. I'm talking about, there was a day when I was on Fordham Road, and my girlfriend, one of my best friends, Sonia, I love her to death. I will do anything for her. I had to pick out my daughter's last dress to be buried in. And for any parent, like I said again, if you have a child, and you just imagine picking out any type of outfit or dress for them, and it's the last outfit that they'll ever be wearing, that is an emotional, horrible thing to do. It's not fun at all. It was very hard for me. And he says, I'm getting off the train now. Where are you? And I was like, oh, I'm at Fordham Road. I'm going to Angels. He's like, I'll be right there. And it was just like, again, I'm in the store picking out my daughter's last dress, and he's right there giving me a hug, and we're just like crying. And he's like, don't worry, I got you. Then we said, you know what? Let's go to Salsa con Fuego, because it's right up here down the block.
His favorite spot. Yes.
That's right up there.
Just say just to get a free drink.
It's down the hill, right at the bottom.
It's right there. And you know what? We just kind of hung out. We had some drinks.
Yep.
But you know what? I don't mean to cut.
Yeah.
Sometimes they always say tragedy sometimes become triumph.
Yes.
That was a tragedy, but it became, in your family, new life, a triumph.
Can I ask you something? And I don't want to get too personal, but do you think through the tragedy it brought you and him together on a different level? Like you might have been seeing him before all of that happened, or you could have been dating him. I don't know. I don't want to go that deep into it. But between these two tragedies, do you think this is how it was supposed to, and I hate to say supposed to, bring you both together as a team and as one? No,
it definitely is what is the glue, the foundation that kind of got us together. And I think that when you go through tragedies, you really see who your friends are, the people who are going to be in your life, the people who are going to be there for you. And then, like I had about 3,000 people show up to that wake. You think I knew all 3,000 of those people?
Right.
No, I did not. I did not. And I didn't even know, I couldn't even really see everyone that was there because it was so many people. It was just so many, the whole community came out and they were very hurt, and it was a tragedy for the whole area, Morris Park, the Bronx. So for me, ever since then, like you look at now, here we are almost like 4 years later, who's still around, who's still with me, who still calls me up to say, are you okay, Natalia? How's everything going? Those are the people that you realize are like your true soldiers. And he's been there since day one. He hasn't left. We get on each other's nerves like all
I get on my nerves too.
Nice.
But he's just my rock. I call him my rock all the time, so.
I just want to ask one question.
Yeah, sure.
Halloween. Now that that's happened, do you still celebrate Halloween with your immediate family?
Everyone asks me that. A lot of people ask me that, and
I don't mean to be a caboose, but it's just
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
No. That's a very good question because actually people ask me that all the time.
You could shut that down.
And in the beginning, I will say that the first year after it happened, it was hard.
Of course.
But my kids, you have to understand, I had at the time, they were only 3 and 8 years old. My other 2 daughters that survived. My daughter in heaven, Nayana, she was 10. So I had a 10, an 8-year-old, and a 3-year-old. Now, here we are, and they are 7 and they're 12 years old now. But guess what? They're kids. They're children.
Stop them from being kids.
They're children, and it's like, okay, so now as a parent, I'm going to say, so this day, Halloween 2015 ruined our lives. So guess what? Every Halloween from now on for the rest of your life has to be horrible because of this tragedy. No,
you flip that
my
to
kids
a celebration.
Still love Halloween. They still want to celebrate. They still want to dress up. They still want to go trick-or-treating. And I think for them, they flipped it, like I said, into a positive. Yeah. Like now it's not a day that we're sad all day. We're actually, my daughter, Sanaya, she actually has started this tradition kind of with me where every year she asks me to do her makeup into some like theatrical character. So for the past few years, I've been creating her makeup on Halloween into these really elaborate, like she was, who is it from Sally from the Nightmare Before Christmas. That's what we did for her makeup this year. And it looks so good and it looks so awesome. And I got so many compliments. And it's like, that's how we kind of go. We choose to honor my daughter and honor my father on that day.
Amen.
Instead of doing the sad thing. I just am not good at that. I don't know. And it's not that I don't think you should be sad or you should never show any sadness. I have days where I cry.
Of course.
And I have days when I go through stuff, but I don't like to dwell or stay there or be sedentary there. I don't like to just be like that stagnant for a long time because I think that you lose production in your life, in your everyday when you stay there. You can't stay there. You got to figure out how to get back up. You got to keep moving. You got to keep going somehow. You cannot stay there.
We're going to take a quick break because you're right. We got to keep going. But you have overcome and now your makeup line is growing and possible new program we're talking to about. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to talk about Natalia today and where the next evolution of where you're going and where you want to take it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Natalia Perez, best team in radio, 950 Lounge. Come on back. We're back on the ride, 950 Lounge. It's just me and the classic man holding it down at this point. Still with the super talented Miss Natalia Perez. And obviously, thank you for sharing that story. Definitely. I know we talked about it and you said, no, Kev, but I, doing this show, and I won't mention the network because it was complimentary to me. I know it was so much complimentary to them. But you had said, wow, Kev, you have this program that is different. And me knowing, your background in media and things like that, I took that as like, wow, I'm honored because I look at things like that when somebody can say that about what we do. It means a lot. And with you sharing that story here, and I don't think anybody in this room will soon forget, nor our listening audience will soon forget. I think it says a lot. But I want to talk now about what you're doing now, because you have fought those demons, overcome those demons, and channeled them. Not that they ever go away, but you've channeled them. You've been able to put those in a box when it's needed, especially this time of year. But I think when we came to mention about you coming on the show today, it was because we're in the holiday season. And it's the best of times and the worst of times. There are people who are going through so much loss of loved ones, of things that they can't control, similar to your loss, whereas you did everything right. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen. So when people do come to you, and I'm sure you do get asked, how do you deal? What can I do? What's some of the advice you give?
Well, it's hard because a lot of times my tragedy and what I went through is going to be completely different from another person's tragedy and what they went through.
Right.
And not only are the tragedies and things we went through different, but it's going to affect you differently.
Right.
And I'm just putting out a very casual example. I have a big family, right? So I have a great support system, but there's people out there who they don't have any family. And then they have that one parent that dies, let's say. So now where do they go? You understand what I'm saying? And it's just like, I just feel like now that I'm looking forward and I'm learning more about myself and life, I just tell people, no matter where you are in life, no matter what you're doing, try your best to stay positive. Try your best to focus on the positive, and just try to make goals for yourself. Because if you think about it, goals in your life are what you're looking forward to achieve as you go. So like right now, we're in 2019, right? It's about to be 2020.
Yep.
You should already be projecting where you're going to be in 2025 or in 2030 or in even 2040.
You know what?
I mean?
That's the one scary thing, though.
Yes.
Because you would like to project 2025, but I just like to project tomorrow.
Right.
Because it's the truth, though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can sit here and say no day is really guaranteed, and you gotta enjoy every day as you can. So when I agree with you to project out, sometimes it's better just to say, what am I gonna do tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, how am I gonna
But
be a
you
better
also got to
person?
have
Right.
a long-term plan. While, yes, nothing's guaranteed, that doesn't mean that you spend your last dollar, because I'm going to Vegas and I'm rolling on a 7.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. 7-Eleven all day.
No,
So,
but, but I think like this experience that I've been through, the tragedy, has taught me to kind of enjoy the moments that I'm with my children and with my family. So now, instead of focusing on buying, the latest product or the latest clothing or the latest whatever that's out there, I'd rather use that money to go on a family trip or a family vacation or, do things like that, because those experiences that you have with those family members and those photos and the memories that you make, that's what you remember when they go on, when they pass away. You don't remember what shoes they were wearing or what jacket they had on or something, related to their clothing and things like that. So I just try to tell people, like, don't focus on the superficial anymore. Focus more on the experience that you have and making the memories with people, because that's really what's important in life,
We're talking to Natalia Perez, and now that you have your own, I know when we first met, you was doing makeup and, hooking everybody up. I remember, I think it was even our old co-host, Cece, used you for something was going on. I'm like, she got about 15 people like, throwing powder on their face. But talk about this brand you got now, your own Sasheen Makeup Artistry, SMA for short. Let's talk about this.
So Sasheen Makeup Artistry is really, let me put this over here. It's my newest palette. It's called the Poinsettia palette, and I created this new palette because a lot of people love to do eyeshadow looks, especially around the holiday season. And this palette has a lot of different colors.
I thought it was candy. It felt so nicely packaged.
I thought it was a picture book or something. I was like, oh, she giving out picture books. Okay.
It has 35 colors, including some glitter. And these are a lot of neutral colors that a lot of females, and men wear makeup too.
Yeah,
nowadays,
rodeo,
so
don't get it twisted. He
I
left. He
can't-
can't defend himself.
Men and women wear
Is it
makeup.
different because in your former line of business, did they wear makeup? As far as like anchors and stuff like
yeah,
that?
definitely.
Is it weird though for men to want to wear makeup? Because I was always wondering what it's like to have makeup.
If
put
you
on
was
my
doing
face. But is there a time and a place for it though? Like if I want to do this show with makeup on it, would somebody get mad at me?
No, they wouldn't get mad at you for any type of filming stuff. I think
I might clown you, but I'm just
because I got makeup on.
I think it's a male thing. It's like, men make fun of other men if they have makeup on, but the reality of it is that almost all the actors that you see on television,
right.
almost every time you see a big photo shoot campaign, almost every time you see magazines and things like that, almost 90
it's all makeup.
90-something% of the time, men are wearing makeup
On the
on
news
those
is
as
makeup.
well as women.
Really?
Yeah.
So sometimes, don't knock it. If you put a little bit of powder on your face to prevent the shine or whatever, nobody's really going to notice or be like, oh, my God, you have powder on your face.
But you ain't got to wear makeup to go to Casa.
Yeah, but I'm not putting no lipstick. Like, we ain't got to worry. If I put makeup on, it's cool. I ain't going to put no lipstick on. I ain't got to worry about that.
Right.
All right? See, that's too far.
I want to get the pouty look.
Yeah, so I recommend it. This eyeshadow is amazing. If you want to get one, they're selling right now for $50 online.
Yeah, it's holidays,
And,
good
they're
time to
really
get some
great.
gifts.
I also came out with some lipsticks, but I didn't bring those. But I'm trying to create an empire for my children. I know that it's not easy to sit here and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the next big thing in
Yes, it is.
Sephora.
But you
and
got to put it
everything.
All
into
you got to
existence.
do is say it.
But
You
if
just
you
said it.
put things out into the atmosphere,
Without question.
I do believe that you do it over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Eventually, you'll be like, wow. Like it's here,
worked.
you know
I
what I
did it.
mean? And that's just with anything you do in life. You want to be an actor, you want to be the president, you want to be anything. Like, come on.
Somebody told that to Trump, and it,
No, he really believed it too. He said, I want to be the president. I'm going to be the president. Look what happened. Now he's the president. Lord Jesus.
Yes.
very nice, very, very nice to me.
We're big.
So
We're big.
it's possible. So I just, I try to teach my children that. They want to have a YouTube channel now, so
We
probably
got
gonna talk about
we got a place for that.
We got a few
kids.
cameras
We got a
here.
spot for
We got
you.
cameras
Yeah.
right here.
We got an app for that, like Apple said.
I know, and I just want to, get to the next level. Obviously, I'm still focusing on my makeup brand. I have a lot of other great things in the future coming, and I'm just trying to live the best life possible now and teach my kids that, life doesn't stop when you go through stuff. You
doubt.
just
Right.
keep pushing through, keep trying your best, be a good person, and God will reward you. And that's it.
Without question. Again, I can't thank you enough. This has been a great conversation, and I hope somebody gets food from this, because you definitely was chefing it up with your conversation. Real quick, where people can reach out to you, find more information, buy this fantastic palette.
Okay, so Sasheen MUA Cosmetics is my Instagram that you can purchase this from. My other Instagram that you know me as SMA_NYC, where I share pictures of my kids and kind of my crazy life as well. And then I do have a website, www.sashimakeupartistry.com, where you could book makeup appointments and things like that. And I don't know, just, anybody who wants to promote, who wants to help, who wants to team up or partner up.
Well, you ain't got to ask us that question.
Yeah.
We already on the train.
I
And,
would love the help. I would love the promotions, and just we all got to support each other and
without
stick
question.
together.
Well, again, happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you. You too.
Your kids.
You
Tell
too.
your husband I said hello. I know he's looking for me. And we'll get things going. But I can't thank you enough for the time. And again, God bless you. Love you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Natalia
Thank you,
Perez,
guys.
ladies and
Thank
gentlemen.
you
We're
so
going to take a quick
much.
break. We keep 950 moving. Come on back. Hey, it's your boy 950 Kev for the 950 Lounge Show with LeBron James and the Radio Game, the most electrifying man in media today. And I'm 1/5 of the best team in radio. So I'm joined by my brother Rodeo, the funny guy, just the classic man, the cynic, a.k.a. Mr. Roper, Backstage Ed, and the lovely, super talented Steph Pearl. It's 950 Lounge every day, all day on multiple networks. So take us a listen. Let us know what you think. Catch us at www.950lounge.com, on my Instagram at 950kev.